What's going on, everyone? It's Mike back again, and it's a bit of a match reactions to talk about the Lisbon game. It's really to go through the sort of structure of the team, what I expect. Obviously, potential signings that we've been linked with, potential comings in, goings out as well. But really, it's just talk about season ahead. Start gearing up for Fulham. And it's game week. This is normal Premier League now. This is it. Like, pre-season's done, finished, and we've got to, how we're going to step up, how we're going to start moving forward with this team, this sort of mishmash of players that have played under 6 or 7 managers at this point. So yeah, it's just really just to sort of go through what I expect the shape to be, what I expect the team to be, and obviously some positives and negatives from what we've got and not got. So Everton played Sporting Lisbon the weekend. We won 1-0. It was to be honest, there was loads of fans. The Sporting Lisbon fans were cheering. There was drums. I mean, it was a real partisan crowd. Really, it was lively. It was good to see the hustle and bustle around Goodison as well. It was good to bump into some people who obviously watch the channel. So guys, thank you ever so much for coming over and saying hello, having a little chat. Literally the moment I pulled up, a lovely bloke just come over and said, I really appreciate your content. So, really appreciate everyone stepping forward and saying hello, because, I don't bite and I'm just a normal bloke. So thank you ever so much. But the game itself, look, I actually thought we was all right. Defensively, I thought we were okay. We've still got this. So I'd almost argue it's like a momentary lapse of concentration, because it doesn't happen loads, but when it does, they get real opportunities. And the young, I think he's young, but anyway, the tricky, skillful Sporting Lisbon right winger, he ran through the Everton midfield and defence a few times. He caused Ashley Young all sorts of problems, and we really needed to double up on him, and we did. But Sporting Lisbon moved the ball really quickly. They moved it really nicely. They were able to bypass our midfield largely. And the ball was going into Gyökeres, who, if I'm being honest, didn't impress me at all. Ben Godfrey pretty much had him in his pocket all game. There was a couple of moments, but Ben was up to the physical challenge. And to be fair to Ben, I've needed to see more of that. I almost felt like since he had COVID, and look, I appreciate it hits people differently, so, whatever, understandable if there's, long COVID involved or whatever, but I just never felt like he was the same player. And then obviously he had that injury, and I feel like he's lacked a little bit of that bite and that aggression, that when he came into the team, we were seeing him making them aggressive challenges and stepping in, and I thought he was getting back to that. I felt like it was more positive in that sense. I thought he worked well with Tarkowski. I thought he managed really well at the back. They were both talking to each other. We were sitting in the paddock, literally row 4, so we could hear, them talking to each other, and, you could hear them pulling out the left and right back depending on where the ball was moving. They were directing, and that was really positive. And Arna was coming deep into midfield, and there was one particular occasion where he comes in deep, he rolls his man and carries the ball forward. He probably makes the wrong pass, but there was signs of a transition. There were signs of a bit of aggression. There were signs of an attack, and that's what we've needed. We've needed to be more aggressive in that sense. We've needed to have our wingers being out wide and players that can carry the ball in the middle of the park, because we do lack that. I don't think it's right James Garner being on the right hand side of midfield, or because it wastes his quality in the middle of the park. His ability to pass the ball, it just wastes that, it nullifies it. Alex Iwobi, I thought Iwobi had a good season last season, and I won't dig him out, but what he lacks is pace. He's got the feet, he's got the trickery, his end product's a bit ropey, but he's not quick enough. And when you're looking at wingers, you're looking at blistering pace essentially, and Everton don't have that. Lewis Dobbin, you'd probably argue is our quickest winger / forward, Calvert-Lewin. But, you know, Calvert-Lewin you want in the box. You don't want him playing anywhere near the wing. You don't want him linking up play, having to play on the right, coming into the middle. You want him up front, being prepared to get on the end of balls, getting on to balls that are going through the channels. You wanting that from your centre forward. You're not wanting him to come out to left and right. You know, he's not Henry, which is what Henry used to. He's not Henry. And we just lack that pace. We really do lack that serious, blistering pace. You know, a player like Adama Traore, a Willian Onto, funny enough, the lad that Sporting Lisbon have, that real pace, that killer instinct to get in behind, and that would be so beneficial in our side. And, you know, we haven't got that. You know, it looks like Chimiti's deal was done. It looks like the personal terms are agreed, the fees agreed, everything's agreed. He's a medical. I think it's medicals tomorrow, but it might have been today. You know, all of that is great, but we need proven players, and I worry about Chimiti coming in, being a player that's got to prove a point. And I'm not against signing young players, not at all. But if we haven't got the budget, we sort of need to use it in the right way. We didn't last season. We didn't, because we signed Neil Maupay for 15 million, which was the worst business. It was shocking business, if we're being honest. You know, let's not sugarcoat it. So it was poor, but I want to see some more intensity. I want to see us break the lines. And a couple of times in that game, I did see it. I just saw a lack of pace. Obviously, Everton do win a penalty, handball by the centre-back. And to be fair, Calvert-Lewin puts it away very nicely. It's a good penalty. It's short run up, little stut, bang. And it was a good penalty. The second half, he makes that change. You know, he takes off Calvert-Lewin, he brings on Maupay, and there's nothing. We have one, maybe two opportunities. A ball comes in from across, Maupay gets his head on it, but he puts it wide. It's just too big for him. You know, if that's Lewin, you'd probably argue that should probably go in. You know, you then hear the comments that Lewin's only made 2 45-minute appearances. He's probably not ready for a Premier League game. I'm not happy about that. Why go the whole summer, not sign a centre forward, and then throw points away potentially against teams that Everton can beat because you're not playing the centre forward who can score goals? I don't understand. Like it's really irritated me. Danjuma's back in training. We didn't see him in this game, but again, we're crying out for someone who can create a goal, or can beat a man, or can deliver a ball, because again, that was something that was lacking in this game. The crossing, the free kicks were awful. And you know, I'd argue that we haven't had a great free kick taker since Baines, obviously. You know, some people would say Luca Dean, but he didn't. Let's be honest, he didn't lace Leighton Baines' boots. He didn't do anything in that sense. So I do miss having someone who can cause problems from free kicks. You know, there's Ward-Prowse at Southampton. I'm not saying Everton have got the money that Southampton want to go and sign him. I'm not saying that, but you know, the profile of someone who has got that real ability to put a ball down 30 yards out and put it in the top corner and just get you a goal would be really beneficial. And Everton just don't have that. They haven't got that. They haven't got a free kick specialist. They haven't got anything that can do that. And I do think these little things are the difference between finishing in the bottom 5 and finishing probably between 9th and 13th. You know, people that can get you a goal, people that can, you know, score you something randomly. We all know how Everton are going to score their goals. It's going to be corners from centre half, so it's going to be Calvert-Lewin penalties and through the middle. Dwight McNeil will chip in with a couple. There'll probably be a couple of bangers in there. He won't be able to get 1 or 2. And that'll be it. That's our goals. And we seriously lack them. There was a couple of moments where Renane got forward. He played a lovely little 1-2. I think it was Maupay. Plays a lovely little 1-2 with Maupay. Hits the post, but it was a good effort. I want to see more of that. You know, people people have said Onana had a decent game. I've also read that people think that he didn't have a good game. I thought he was okay. I do expect to see more from a kid that is valued at 55 to 60 million pound. I appreciate he's young, so no pressure, but we need him this season. We need him to stand up this season. We need him to be big and strong and win the ball and carry the ball for us. And people will say he's a cheerleader or whatever. Well, cheer us on. Make us cheer. Make us get on our feet. Raise your hands to us. Make us, get going. When you're doing something, that's my real sort of point to Onana. But all in all, I thought it was a decent performance. I thought it was a performance against a side that is a very good team. I thought Everton did well. I thought we deserved to win. They did have a couple of chances. The lad hit the post, for example. It was really good football. Pulls us apart. Ball hits the top, sort of the absolute apex of the crossbar and the post. And Pickford just catches the ball. There was a couple of decent challenges in terms of both teams. It was a friendly, but there was definitely some challenges put in, which I'm not against. Get that intensity back up, get it back in, fine. Tarkowski appeared to have a clash of knees. He definitely hurt his knee. It's not like him to come off. So I'm hoping that he's fine for the Fulham game. Branthwaite come on as a second half substitute. I thought he was fantastic. I thought he was absolutely brilliant when he come on. Composed with the ball, strong in the air, did exactly what he needed to. I thought Mykolenko was okay, but typical Mykolenko, it's a 5 or 6 out of 10. I think Ashley Young just has the edge on him, just in terms of experience. And also his football IQ. I think Mykolenko can be a little bit headless chicken at times, whereas Ashley Young does have a football IQ because he has to. He's been in these situations. He's not a young footballer anymore. It's not like his Watford days. Ashley Young was playing for Watford when I was in secondary school. I'm now 31. It's a long time ago. I remember the £9.5 million transfer to Villa because my friends were happy about it, but he's just random, decent winger. He ended up being a really good signing for Villa, having a great success there. Went to Man United, all of that. He's an ultimate professional. I think he gets the nod over him. Nathan Patterson, I thought, played well. He needs to stay fit. And Jordan Pickford, well, he's England's number one for a reason. You actually don't have to say anything about Pickford anymore. A few years ago, you all know that I sat here and said, look, I'd get rid of Pickford, I'd change goalkeeper. He was exactly what you'd expect. He seems to have worked on his distribution because he found Calvert-Lewin a few times with good passes, and Calvert-Lewin reciprocated with good touches. He picked out Iwobi a couple of times. He was on the run. He just lacks that pace to beat the right back in this occasion. So there was lots of little positives, but there also was some glaring, obvious things like Everton need a striker, Everton need a midfielder, Everton probably need a centre half. They probably need a winger who can play left and right. There is clearly glaring, obvious gaps in this Everton side, and I don't think they're going to be addressed before the start of the season. And if I'm being completely honest, I don't think they're going to be addressed at all. We've been rumoured, again, as just mentioned earlier, on my last video, we've been rumoured with a loan move for Harry Maguire. I'd be all over it. Me and John were having this conversation today, and he was a bit derogatory about Maguire, which is fine. We've all seen him for England make mistakes. We've seen him for Manchester United make mistakes. But I do think his leadership would add real value into this Everton side. A young team at times, I do think it would help, but whether his wages and whatever demands, whether it stacks up. But if we're going to loan a player from a Premier League team, I think we need a centre forward, and if we've not got the money, we've got to go and get one. I would be tempted, albeit I don't know what's going on. So guys, don't hold me to this because I don't know if he's injured. I don't know if he's left the club. But someone like Brozier from Chelsea, You know, this is a player that we know can score goals in the Premier League. We've seen it. I know he's had his injury issues, but, you know, he's had one big injury rather than lots of little niggles which have kept him consistently out. I think it's just one decent injury that Bro just had. And I'd be tempted to say to Chelsea, look, would you loan him? You know, we'll get him fit. We need a season out of him. I don't know where we are in terms of a striker, because Chimiti, to me, 19 years old, is not going to be starting Premier League games. He should be in the Carabao Cup squad. You know, you've got Neil Maupay, and I'm trying not to be like too disrespectful to any of the players, but he's not a Premier League player. He's not. He should be nowhere near playing up front for Everton. Like, he just shouldn't. You know, and the price tag that Brighton got last season, you know, they pulled our pants down. And slapped our arse as we walked past. I mean, it was pathetic. Absolutely horrendous deal. But it is what it is, and he's out here. We also saw Andre Gomez, who looked, again, composed on the ball. He beat a man. Gomez, for me, has always been a footballer that I actually quite enjoy watching. But he's too slow. He plays the game at such a slow pace that it just kills everything as soon as the ball goes into him. I saw him last season carrying the ball, beating people, scoring a couple of decent goals. That was the Gomez that I thought we signed. You know, that was a Gomez that looked unbelievable when we did sign him in that loan period. He looked fantastic. He isn't that. He isn't that. He's slow, he's steady, he's composed. I like that. The Sporting Lisbon fans give him a lot of grief, which is fine, you know, whatever, there's a history. But it surprises me that these players are still there. It surprises me that Gomez is still there. And the one player that we haven't seen so far is Dele Alli. We haven't seen Dele Alli. He's obviously got his injuries, and, you know, to be fair, Dyche come out and said that he's absolutely nowhere near being ready for the first team, and that disappoints me. But it is what it is. You know, I understand he's had various issues. Let's be honest, he's had various issues. He's had injury issues. Fine, absolutely no problem. And like I'd say to anyone in that situation, take as much time as you need. Obviously, some of the younger lads that have gone out on loan, they started this weekend, you know, Stanley Mills at Oxford, etc. And various other players played minutes and you know, in their new teams. And the one that Everton have sort of kept hold of and kept behind is Lewis Dobbin, and I think he could have a big season for Everton. I really do think he could be the one that twists our fortune, I think. I really do think there's something about him. There's something special. He doesn't say much. He's quiet. He seems to go about his business well. He's not scared of taking people on. He's not scared of shooting. And that is exactly what Everton needs. Someone who is not scared of pulling the trigger. And he is that. So look, positives. A couple of negatives, but we are where we are. We're going into this game against Fulham. Preview will be out on Thursday, but we are going into this game against Fulham. Needed 3 points, obviously, but I mean, not in horrendous shape. I think the team as it is right now, me and John were having this debate, and I've been very critical about this team. Very critical. But I watched them on Saturday and I thought, I don't think they're going to be bottom three. I said the same last season. I predicted we'd finish 14th. I'm going to do my predictions video probably Wednesday. But I feel like this season might be the turning of the screw. I'm hoping. It's the hope that kills you. Guys, look, I'm leaving it there as always. We will see. We need to bring in some players. Mikel Antonio is not the answer. Harry Maguire could be part of the answer, but I think we need more. We've been linked with a move for Richarlison again. For me, I love Richie. I love his mentality. I love his mindset. But even when we had him, he scored 7 goals in the last season. It's not enough for me. It's not enough. So, yeah, I don't know what you do. We need a striker. Big soul. That simple. Guys, leaving it there. Keep smiling. Peace.